My unborn child absorbed its twin and now my wife resents it. At our 10-week scan we were told we were having twins. Having tried for 7+ years and this being our first real pregnancy, my wife was ecstatic. A few weeks later our doctor is checking for heartbeats and he only finds one. We go for another ultrasound and one of our twins had died and been absorbed by the other, which is why my wife had no glaring miscarriage symptoms. At first she was fine. Then she started joking that our baby would grow up to be a serial killer as he already has one checked off. Soon it was becoming clear that the idea our unborn fetus somehow murdered its twin intentionally was no longer a joke in my wife's mind. I tried explaining the fetus had passed on its own, it hadn't been absorbed to death. This didn't work, so I asked our doctor, her gynecologist, her mother, her sister and her dad to all try explaining it too, but it was no use. She has fully convinced herself that our unborn child is a murderer. I really don't know what to do. My mom tells me she'll go back to normal when her pregnancy hormones drop, but I am really concerned as I know the drop in hormones can actually make people even more unpredictable, and I hate to say this about my wife, but dangerous. I don't want to leave her. We've waited so long to be parents together and I know this isn't my wife, she is just grieving. The multiple ultrasounds have put us badly in the negative after already being screwed over by COVID, so we can't afford therapy for a little while. Any advice? Thanks.
She doesn't need it explained to her anymore. She's heard the explanations and she doesn't care. She needs a therapist to help her adjust to the fact she lost a child. Because that's how it feels to her.
She's reacting to trauma. Multiple miscarriages and infertility can result in PTSD. She should seek professional help or a support group.
Approach this as the death of a child. A child she had never known, but had already loved. My suspicion is that she is emotionally distancing herself from the remaining fetus in case this fetus dies unexpectedly too. She needs therapy. Look into social programs which might provide her with additional resources.
Try researching some support groups like SANZITS in the UK, but I'm guessing you'll have something similar where you are.
You've asked everyone to explain to her except a therapist. She should see a therapist, nothing to do with pregnancy hormone. Or the OB should told her that she made a mistake and the other twin had just stopped growing, not being absorbed.
She's developed a negative perception of what transpired. Professional help may be required. In the meantime, see if you can direct the thinking in a positive way. The remaining baby is now carrying on two legacies, not usurping its twins. God, this is why ultrasounds should not take place before 12 weeks. Absorbing a twin is super common, but typically it will only be picked up before 12 weeks. After that, while there may be some traces left, it's unlikely there would be two heartbeats at all. So although it may be sad, there wouldn't be the opportunity to have bonded with this second baby, or to get your hopes up you were having to. I'm so sorry for what your wife is going through. It must be horrible to try to process such a loss whilst still pregnant. I would really suggest she gets some counseling through the rest of her pregnancy, to help her deal with the loss. Talking sense will not be helpful while she is in the grieving process. She needs someone to help her work through this grief before your other child arrives.
Ultrasound tech here. Are they very certain there were two? There's an imaging artifact in ultrasound called mirror artifact. It can make it look like there's two of something when there's not. It's rare but possible. Something to consider.
Mate, I'm so sorry to hear about this. How are you doing, boyo?
My dad was a twin and did the same thing. I honestly didn't know his mother, so don't know how she felt about it, but my dad was spoilt rotten and very much loved. Hopefully with time and therapy if needed, she'll learn to love the child and be able to properly grieve its twin. I wish you and your family nothing but the best. Good luck, Black Heart.
She needs to see a therapist. Sit her down and express your concern.
If you can't afford therapy, how the hell are you supposed to afford a child, and how were you okay with twins? That shit is an excuse. She needs therapy. Damn dude.
I really wish the doctor didn't use the term, absorbed by the other. At 10 weeks, the baby has all the parts it needs and is not absorbing anything except nutrition from the mother. Some twins are absorbed, but much earlier than that while they are still in the nondescript zygote or blastocyst stage, and then the baby can become a chimera. It sounds like one baby miscarried and the mother absorbed it. This probably has nothing to do with the other twin and was a problem in the baby's development. Possibly genetic. You should ask for a better explanation on Ask Docs or a science sub, since I think a big part of the problem is a misunderstanding. There are other comments with good advice otherwise, but I wanted to point out this point since I think it would help to move any perception that the baby is responsible.
Therapy. Hopefully before postpartum becomes an issue.
My girlfriend was a twin and she ended up doing the same thing in the womb. She always likes to say she can feel her twin.
This happened to me. Your doctor has described it incorrectly. This early in a pregnancy, the baby does not absorb its twin. The mother's body reabsorbs hit it. No one has murdered anyone here. It's apparently fairly common, but it's only picked up when early scans are done. It's becoming more commonly known, simply because with the rise of IVF, more early scans are done. I mourned my little peanut and moved on. His twin is standing in the kitchen eating his way through a whole loaves of bread, 11 years later. Give your wife the correct information, and get her professional help if she becomes fixated on this. Hormones can make things seem exaggerated and overwhelming, even when your rational mind is quite clear on what's actually happening. Please get her to see a therapist. I'm really concerned that she will hurt the child if she has not talked through her irrational thoughts.
She needs therapy and trauma consulting, or these feelings might carry over when the child is born.
Have you both attempted to work through the trauma of losing a child as a couple together?
She needs to see a psychiatrist, not a therapist. Pregnancy hormones can do weird stuff to the mind, and I think that she needs a good screening and follow-up from a psychiatrist who can refer to an appropriate psychologist.
Be careful with this. You might need to refer to a counselor or professional in case it escalates in her mind. As you correctly note, it's a vulnerable time. The one logical thing I guess you might be able to bring up to her, is that this is super common and normal. They used to think all left-handed people had absorbed a twin. Plus very early stage cells get absorbed back into mothers' bodies, etc. Good luck with it. It's an emotional time, so maybe, hopefully, things will get better as things stabilize.
I did this, absorbing my twin, but I can confirm I'm not a serial killer. Yet.
He saved you financially.
The multiple ultrasounds have put us badly in the negative. I know this is not the point here, but the fucking US healthcare system. Ultrasound is a free medical service here, like it should be. Pregnancy is hard enough, money should never play into this even more.
All the important parts have been taken care of, so I just wanted to note, your wife absorbed the baby, not the remaining baby. It's far more common than people realize, and not just in humans, but all mammals. I've had it happen to me, and I see it regularly as a vet. So everyone is correctly recommending therapy, but OP said they can't afford therapy. IDK if there are free services where OP lives or if they're of any quality, but OP if you aren't aware there are lots of online therapy services now that might be more affordable, at least that's how they market themselves. My personal experience with stuff like Talkspace is that it's not as good as in-person sessions, of course, but in your situation something may still be better than nothing. You might also consider asking family members, such as your or her parents, if they would be generous enough to offer financial support for her sessions so she can get the help she needs. They'd not only be helping her but their future grandchild and you as well. This post is fake and I give it a C+ grade. It puts in the bare modicum of details to be halfway believable, but it still reeks of a creative writing assignment done the night before it was due. It also falls into the trope of the wife being an empty vessel, devoid of any personality or redeeming qualities whatsoever. Couple other pointers. 1. A couple trying to get pregnant for 7+ years wouldn't start celebrating after 10 weeks. 2. You mention you don't want to leave your wife. That is unnecessary. Of course a married couple wouldn't divorce over such minor shit after finally getting pregnant. It's just a stupid thing to say or add to this farce of a story.
Talk to a professional therapist. This is above Reddit's pay grade. This happens to me. I was the baby who absorbed my twin. I am not a murderer or serial killer. Get her therapy.
There are online therapy options that are affordable. Try BetterHelp.
Everyone here recommending therapy when OP already said they can't afford that right now. Do people here even read? She's pregnant and grieving. Give her some time and maybe try online counseling if you can. Talk to her like an adult, make her have a conversation about why she thinks like this. It could help her process what has happened. Ignore the divorce NAAOOOOOW stuff. People have no idea how to talk to their os like adults.
Sorry about your difficult situation. I think you should help her grieve for the absorbed twin in a healthy way, have a little memorial service and help her express the suppressed feelings.
My mum had 10 plus miscarriages before me. I was one of triplets through IVF. I absorbed them both and haven't killed anyone, don't plan on it. I think you guys are gonna be okay.
She may be projecting how she feels about herself into her child. Perhaps she feels that she somehow murdered her baby. She of course, didn't. But this is also a common symptom of pregnancy loss, guilt. Sometimes guilt is projected.
By any chance is your unborn child Dwight Schrute?
Multifetus pregnancies are a lot more common than people think, and 1 in every 8 of these pregnancies result in vanishing twin syndrome. I was the result of a multifetal pregnancy and absorbed my twin, but this twin was only known about because my mum had her first scan earlier than is usual because there were discrepancies about when I was due. It's really common, but it's not usually picked up because vanishing twin syndrome is most prevalent at 6 weeks. It's not until 11 to 14 weeks that you can be most sure that you'll have twins. This is not the surviving fetus's fault, and it's harmful to your future child for her to place the blame on them and make silly generalizations. I'm 19 and am yet to kill anyone else. Sources.
People really shouldn't consider 10-week-old embryos children.
Your primary care physician, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and probably an obstetrician are the only people who can help. This is way beyond any Reddit advice.
There are some no-cost therapy. Google it in your town or the closest bigger town. They will probably be going this through telecommunications though. She needs to just feel these feelings. I wouldn't say she's going to go back to normal, but I will say she'll probably calm down.
You people need science. You never had twins. You had 2 eggs that could have become twins. This absorb thing happens a lot. It's perfectly normal. By her own logic, did she kill someone when having false hopes about a pregnancy?
Hey, my name is Alex. Before I was born I actually absorbed my twin Adam. Tell your wife it's going to be okay. I'm 20 and I'm definitely not a serial killer. I hope it works out well for you guys, and yeah, some days I really wish I had my twin. Instead I got a little sister. Name it Kirby.
My wife has her identical twin. She also absorbed her tripled and it latched onto her ovary. So when she was 9 she couldn't pee for a week or so, and after she almost died at home the doctors found a mass on her ovary. They removed it and it had hair and teeth in it. Basically watch your kid for symptoms in a few years.
How screwed is the health system if a few ultrasounds cost you so much that you can't afford therapy?
She needs to see a psychiatrist very soon to quash that very silly venomous idea in her head well before the baby is born, or she may resent the child for the rest of its life.
Sorry if my take sounds nasty or judgy, but I submit that your wife doesn't need reality explained to her. She needs to know somebody gives a fuck about what she is going through right now. Like, hey, did anybody bother to check whether she is worried about whether the remaining fetus is going to fail as well? Because I bet you she is so worried about that she can't even think straight.
This happened to me, rather I was the fetus that did the absorbing. I was a triplet with 3 heartbeats, and by the best scan there was only one me. I think I turned out fine. Relatively healthy and robust. But I do like to think it was survival of the fittest. Nurse Shark style.
She will go back to normal. I am one of the twins, and I have absorbed my twin at 12 weeks. My parents also had problems having children. My brother is only 13 months older than me, so it was devastating for my mom when she found out that my twin died. Now 21 years later it is a joke that I murder my twin and that I have always been dominant. I don't care about it, I laugh along, it doesn't hurt. My mom still sometimes bring up how nice would it have been had the other one survived as well. A word of advice, keep this away from your kid until he is old enough to understand and never guilt trip him. He isn't at fault and he never will be.
I understand, it's hard to change a picture which was manifested for a while, but maybe it's changeable with another one. Let me try. The twins became one. The unborn child cared about the soul of the twin, which was not able to grow further, and merged to one soon human being. All the love for the twins are now in one child. Nothing is gone.